Hey folks, and welcome back. I'm Casual Tycoon, and we're checking out my Corvus launch coaster building submission. Last time we got together, we looked at Iron Maddie's Dragon coaster competition, which I think was super fun, and I thought it'd be fun to document how I went about designing Corvus's competition entry. What you're seeing here is an infinity coaster, of course, but more importantly, I designed this thing 3 or 4 times until I landed on what you see here, this particular design. And the reason it took me so long to land on something is because I wasn't giving myself enough restrictions to work with. And so what I did is, when I restarted this building process, is I dedicated a kind of L-shaped rectangle that you can see here with the sand texture, and I used that to guide my design overall. I thought about realistically a launch coaster like this might have 2 launches, something like Velocicoaster, but more importantly, it had 2 distinct sections, one that was somewhat tamer, and then one that was much more thrilling, faster, taller, with bigger elements. So you can see here that I just finished up this first section with about a 30-mile-an-hour launch, a lot of fun turns, a single inversion in there. And then, because the Infinity trains are fairly low capacity, they hold about 16 folks, I went ahead and added a block break here, and you get a fun little dip before you get into the main launch section, which brings riders up to about 60 miles an hour. Later on, I dropped that a little underneath 60 into the high 50s, and that helps the pacing overall. Now, the top hat design was inspired by this other Infinity launched coaster called Gold Rush. I can't remember the part, but I thought it'd be fun if riders got the full sensation of the height that they're at, which is not very high. I think the largest drop on the ride, which is here, is either 100 feet or less than 100 feet. And so when folks get at the top of the top hat, you can see that it banks them outward, and that helps whip them back to the left into this really cool curving drop. One of the challenges rather, was figuring out how to shape the whole thing in a way where the forces were realistic, the shaping was realistic, and it could eventually be smoothed. So you can see that it wasn't using a 4-meter method. I kind of wanted to just get the basic idea down. And that also comes from the fact that this is the 4th time I'm building a design for this contest. So after the top hat, you get to this very large dive float, which doesn't have a whole lot of hang time, but I think it's a really fun element to kind of keep the pace of the second half of the layout. After that, folks go into kind of a swift airtime hill turn before hitting a very high positive G turn, which again had to be reprofiled quite a few times to make it more realistic, to make it more rideable. I was still worried about the capacity of the ride, so what I did was I added this really fun, really quick inversion that jumps right into a mid-course brake run. And so what you have is, in the first section of the ride, you have that one inversion. In the second section of the ride, you have 2 fun inversions. And then what I wanted is, in the third section, after the mid-course brake run, you'd have 1 more inversion. And to make that work, I had to do quite a bit of redesigning after this speed run. What you'll see here is that I try to drop it into a kind of curving positive G drop, but that doesn't work out. I tried a loop. A loop looked very funky, that didn't work. And then I later tried to elongate that into a funny looking corkscrew. That didn't work either. Eventually, I settle on something that I think works out really well and frames the third final half or third final section of the ride in a really fun way. That, of course, comes after I substantially moved up the mid-course brake run just to give it more speed in that final section of the ride. As you can see, I also went ahead and built out the final section of the ride where the brake run would be, the final block brakes, and then eventually a transfer track. That's always part of my process for the most part, just because it makes it a lot easier to line things up at the end, especially knowing that we need to get from point A, which is here the mid-course brake run, to the final section. And I'll say if you're enjoying this, please consider going ahead and giving me a like or subscribing to the channel. I have a few more contest builds coming up that I'm excited to show off, and I hope you like as well. But if we look back at the build, we can see here's where I was playing around with a few different options after the mid-course brake run. And even though Infinity coasters don't have, very small loops like the one I'm about to add here, I thought it was just a really cool, really fun way of adding something unique, not only to Infinity coasters, but just to the final element of the ride. Usually loops, you see them at the beginnings of rides, and so I think it's always cool when you see them really close to the end of the ride. If you think of something even like Incredicoaster, having a loop right in the middle of the ride, it's perfectly framed, and it's somewhat unexpected. Speaking of unexpected, the ride also didn't have a kind of traditional, straightforward H-shaping hill, and I thought, why not end the coaster here? So riders get this great big pop of air, and they'll get a nice swooping turn that jumps into the brake run. Now, I did a lot more work after that, including lighting, custom supporting, and a small concrete base station. Why don't we take a look at that now and see what the POV looks like. Well, there you have it. That's my coaster design. I hope you liked it. I didn't even tell you the name. The name's Wipeout. Hence the fun surfer kind of music. This was a blast to build. The lighting design was really cool. Custom supporting is a big pain, but I think it turned out really well. I hope you like it, and go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you'd like to see on the channel. Alright folks, have a good one. Bye!